I'm Tab. I'm very talkative.
No, you're fine.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Week 3 DES 105 page layout tools live session. So things are going to go a little bit different today. I am your graphic arts instructor, Shannon McNamara, but Angel is actually going to be hosting our live session today, which will be fun. So what I'm going to do is I am going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to turn my screen share over to her, and she will take it away today, but you will still be able to view the recording and everything the same exact way. So without further ado, let me just stop my screen share and I'm going to mute myself, and Angel, you can get started.
Okay, awesome. Give me one moment to start my screen share. Okay, the screen should be up. Let me make sure I got the chat here. All right, awesome. Okay, so the agenda for this week's live session, we're going to go over the class announcements, the elements of design, the critique of menu design from week 2, discussion questions for week 3, setting up assessment 3, and assignment 3 as well. So before we do that, I just want to go over some due dates. All assignments and assessments are due by Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for full credit. If you have anything going on, please make sure to communicate to either Shannon and I regarding your late work. And this will save you any missed points on your assignment. And remember that week 4 assignments cannot be turned in late. The original discussion post for this week is due by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. 2 responses to student discussions are due by Saturday, and you must post on at least 2 different days. Late discussion posts will not be accepted past Saturday deadline for the week. And just to go over our course schedule again, for next week, yes, sorry. Just to go over our course schedule again, live sessions are on Mondays. It's not from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's actually going to be 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Today we pushed it back just for me to do this live session, and remember the multi-session is the next day on Tuesday as well. And you can see these things in the announcements as well. Let me pull them up for you just so you can see that as well. So it should be here. Yeah, so this is the correct time for the live sessions here. So they're always Mondays at 10 a.m. And then the multi-session will be held Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I will be attending the multi-session on tomorrow at 10. So I will be there if you have any questions as well. All right. And if you need any outside help, the Student Success Center is open with tutoring available. You don't have to make an appointment. So if there are not any questions on that, we're going to move on to week 3. It's okay, Shannon. I knew where to find it in the class, so it's fine. So we're going to go over the introduction to the element of design, the demo of problem areas from last week's assignments, discussion, assignment, and assessment. We're going to go over the master pages, spread, and ad placement. And before I do that, I would do the introduction of element of design. Shannon, did you want to do the part about the problem areas for last week's assignment since you were doing the grading for that? I didn't know if you wanted me to do that or not, so I just wanted to ask that before I moved on.
You know what? I can go over that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's no problem. I'm just going to kind of speak to it. Do you want me to just go over that now?
Yes, so you can go over that now, then I can do the rest of it.
All right, I'm gonna just share my screen real quick.
Okay.
All right, so there were a couple of things that I was noticing this week when I was going over everyone's assignments. You know, things that were missing, I feel, in a lot of the assignments that I'm just going to do a quick demo of. I think people were having trouble adding in those tabs this week. So if you were one of the people who was having trouble adding in the tabs, what you can do is you'll notice in the comments that I left you with your assignment, I also added in the help document for InDesign, and it had a screenshot that was just a little bit larger than you can probably see on my screen, because I know how it is. It's like when I'm trying to show something and I can't actually zoom in to show you. So I'm going to go over it one more time, but I think that help document might kind of further explain it if you can't really see what's going on my screen. All right, so let me just quickly as my mouse spins, draw a text box, because that's what always happens when you're trying to do something quick. Hold on. Got like the Macintosh beach ball of death going on over here. All right, so what you had is you had some items. So let's say you had a hamburger, and that hamburger was $4.50. I don't know what is going on with my computer today. All right, then you had maybe a cheeseburger, and that cheeseburger was $10. These are some expensive prices. Then maybe you had a hot dog that was $1, and you had, ice cream that was $3. Okay, just some weird examples here. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to add those dots in between the item and the item price. And we're going to use a tab, and that's literally your tab key on the keyboard. So you want to make sure that you don't have spaces there, that you have just one tab in between those two items. And you're going to select it, and the way we had set this up that I showed you was as a paragraph style. So I'm going to click on a new paragraph style. I'm going to name it tabs. And I'm going to go down to tabs. And this is where I was trying to show you that you kind of need to sometimes drag this off the screen so you can see what's going on. I'll actually scroll up a little bit to show you. See if I can zoom in a little bit more too. And we need to place one of these arrows in this lighter gray bar right here where the ruler is. And I like to right justify my tab. And the reason why, you'll be able to see, because I have items that are different dollar amounts, but they're also different amounts of numbers. You know, this has 3 numbers, this has 4 numbers, 3 numbers, 3 numbers. So it'll line it up nice and neatly, and it'll look great by the time I'm done. So I'm going to click on Right Justified tab, and then I'm going to click down in this lighter gray area. And you'll notice that there is that line that's moving across. And that's where my numbers are going to end when I add that tab in. So when I let go, it moves those numbers. And then the leader, that's what's going to fill in the space in between the item and the dollar amount. So I want to add in the leader of a period, and that's what gives you those tabs. So let me select that again, and you can see where my arrow is. If I need to change it, I need to make sure that I select the arrow. If you just click in here again, it's going to start you over. So then you would have to click and kind of drag it off and make sure that you select the arrow that you originally had set up. So you can see where the right justified is. Your other options are, if it was left justified, see how you end up with that random 0 just kind of hanging off the side over there? If you center it, again, it's not nicely, it doesn't give you that nice line. So that's where, the right justified really works. Even if you have it centered on the decimal point, it doesn't always line up correctly. In this instance, it would, because there's 2 numbers after each decimal point. But, if you weren't dealing with prices, that might not work as well. So I like to, especially with menu items, I like to err on the side of caution and right justify those tabs. And then, again, click OK to add that in. Another thing that I saw was that people had paragraph styles. You had made the styles, but you didn't apply the styles to the text. So let me just see. I feel like I can add in some placeholder text. There we go. So, there might have been a paragraph style for body copy that was made. And maybe you change the font to Futura and 14-point type over 16 leading and hit OK. But you only put your cursor right here instead of selecting all of the type and clicking on body to change it. So that's why if you received a message saying that, you have your paragraph style set up, but they're not attached to anything, it's because you didn't select the text and then attach it to that body style. Same thing could happen, you might make a header and change that to Futura bold, we'll say 28-point type over 30. Maybe you just, but if you don't select the text that you want to change, it's not going to change it. So those were some of the things that I saw. Other things, people still do not have your crop and bleed marks set up properly on your files. So again, we're dealing with a 1/4-inch bleed in our file. You need to make sure, I've gone over this each week, you need to make sure that your backgrounds are extending all the way outside to at least those 4 red bleed lines. So in order for something to bleed, it has to extend to those bleed lines, that red bleed line right here, which is outside of your, the safe, outside of the cut area of your page. And then to set up those presets, again, you go to Adobe PDF preset, click on high quality print. It's going to ask you where you want to put it. I'm just going to put it in my downloads right now for a test. Go to marks and bleeds. You have to make sure all printer marks are selected and use document bleed settings. Then what you're going to want to do is save that preset, and you can name it marks and bleeds. You'll notice I have one right here called, all printer marks, marks and bleeds, all printer marks. I've done this a couple of times. And then you will export it. And I have some overset text there, which, want to make sure you fix if you see that. So once you get that PDF, you need to see that you have your crop marks and where your bleed line is in your registration bars to make sure that you've done that correctly. It should, well, if you set the leading, you should be setting the leading. It's going to default to something either way. It's probably going to default to what it feels is an auto setting, 12/14.4. But, you should really be setting your leading. Your leading should never be a number smaller than your type size. And it also, I think it's good to err on the side of caution of at least 2 points larger than your point size, because you don't want, you know, that text, the lines running too close to each other. Well, and there's no exact number for what is right, because every single font is drawn differently. So, you know, 14/16, you know, works for Futura. It might not work if I had a script font. Like, let's say if I had Zapfino right here, which you should never have large bodies of text in this font anyways, because it's very hard to read. See what happens at 14/16, because that font is so tall, it runs into the line on top of it. So where 14/16 works okay for Futura, it's not going to work for this font. I would need to extend this to probably, you know, close to like 33 at least for my leading, 33 points, in order to not have the lines. And look at how, even at 33 points, that's 14/33. Look at how close this is. So again, it really depends on the font that you've chosen. Trying to think if there was anything else that I saw over and over again. Just again, make sure that you are placing your pictures proportionally. You know, so draw your picture frame with your frame tool. Go to File, Place. Place that one. And then you want to, if you're not used to the quick keys, which are Command, Option, Shift, E to get it to fit, that's a quick key to get it to fit. Or if you're not comfortable holding down Shift and Command to scale things proportionally, you know, if you're just not used to doing that, you want to go up to Object, Fitting, and you want to fit content proportionally. That's that quick key that I was talking about. Or you can go to Object, Fitting, fill frame proportionally. So those are one of your two options, and then you can kind of just move it around when you're on the white arrow with your cursor up and down how you need it to be. So again, make sure and double check that these two numbers match. So when I tell you that something is not placed proportionally, you need to check that these two numbers are the same. So if you aren't sure how to get it to be the same, like let's say if this one was stuck at 10%, and you're not, and this one was at 8%, and you're not sure how to, you can't get it right, copy the 10% and put it into the top box. You know, you can kind of make it do what you need it to do. I think that was it for things that I ran into. Each time, I know people were really having some trouble with those tabs. So again, you know, try to, let me see if I can pull up that help screen just so you can see what I'm talking about. One moment. So this is that help document. And, you know, as I said, it's a little bit more zoomed in than you can see on my screen where it shows you where certain things go. And this is set up differently because, you know, you can also add a tab in right from the tabs dialog box, but we were adding them in as a paragraph style, but it still acts the same. So either way is fine. You know, just make sure that you're using those tabs in your menu for this week. All right, I'm gonna quit my share and I'll mute myself again.
Okay, So now that we went over the problem areas from last week's assignment, I'm going to go over what is expected of you for this week as well. This is going to be week 3. And the learning objectives for week 3 are to implement correct uses of master pages, define and apply a grid system to a page layout, utilize a baseline grid to align text and graphics and layout, create and apply paragraph and character style sheets to manage type consistency, illustrate how to utilize color palettes within InDesign, and define and apply the 5 basic elements, which we'll go over, which are shape, line, texture, color, and value. And you do have a YouTube video here to watch as well for this week. And we're going to go to the week 3 discussion. So this is week 3 discussion. The learning objective cover will be to define and apply the 5 basic elements of design: shape, line, texture, color, and value. And last week we discussed the importance of consistency and typography. The supported, the CRAP, which is contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity, principle of repetition and alignment, while creating a cohesive look in the overall design. This week we're going to take it one step further. In addition to typography, there are several other elements that should remain consistent with design to create unity. And those elements are shape, line, texture, color, and value. These elements, along with typography and imagery, are the building blocks of graphic design. A shape is used to define an area of interest. Shapes can be drawn with a border around them, defined by area or color, or just be implied because of other elements on the page. And we'll go over that too in the slides as well. A line is the most fundamental of all elements. It's the way that we begin most designs when pen meets paper. Texture adds dimension to artwork by bringing the representation of something tactile into play. Color is also an element that designers use to create focus and generate mood, which we'll go over as well too in the slides. And value works hand in hand with color, and that has to do with the contrast, the darkness or lightness of an element. And it's used to create contrast within the composition. So you have a link here for this week's discussion, so make sure that you go over it. And also a video here on how to post photos as well. You have your actual discussion question here and your reply requirements. Make sure that you are using APA citation when you are doing references. And again, make sure that you're doing 2 follow-up posts by reply to a student on different days during the week. And we're going to scroll down here. Shannon posted another post here called Elements of Design, where she did post a menu talking about the different elements of design, the shape, the color, the contrast here as well. And she also gave another example of something that goes very wrong in array. And this is actually pretty bad. I don't know how else to say that. So make sure to go over that when you actually do your. Yes, we do see this all the time. There are old newspapers. I work in public health, and sometimes we do have to work with outside newspapers to post different promotions, and there are still newspapers that do this design. Please don't do this. This is not good. But make sure that you do go over this during your discussion as well, too, okay? So let's see what else we have here. Let's go to course media and see what you have for week 3 for course media. Alrighty. You do have a lecture, yes. So make sure that you do write your lecture video. You do have some other videos here, what's in InDesign, the basic tools, create a new document. These are very helpful videos.
Oh, these are the ones, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. These are, if you want to just scroll down, for some reason, it's not set in our course to bump you right to week 3. The other courses, it's set up correctly.
Yeah, let's go down. So this is a lecture for week 3. I knew we had a lecture. This is it. Okay, so yeah. All right, so yeah, this is the lecture. And then you have your Linda lecture on chapter 5 here. So make sure that you do go over that. And then you have the article on master pages, which we'll go over as well today too, okay? All righty, so let's see. So elements of design, we talked about line, shape, texture, color, and value. So let's go over that a little bit in detail. So you have some examples of lines here. And line is one of the most important elements of design. Line defines a subject, form, or shape on a flat 2-dimensional surface. We can use thick or thin lines, smooth or jagged lines, as you can see here, rigid and mechanical, organic, and hand-drawn. Normally, you see lines in design where they're actually trying to divide up different sections of text, different sections of the design itself. A line is used very heavily in design, and the quality of a line has the ability to express psychological characteristics of a composition to an audience. So basically, to go over that point in detail, if you look at these here, you're going to look at these lines, the curvy line here, and then this one at the bottom. Normally, you'll see that maybe in something that's elegant. Maybe something that has to do with music, maybe something that has to do with a narrative or a book, or like you did for one of your restaurant pieces, you could use that as well. The dotted line, normally when I see this, because I have a child, I normally see this on assignments for them, homework papers, things of that nature, as well as cutouts. So the quality of line does really have the ability to express the psychological characteristics of the composition. Let's go to shape. Shape is a two-dimensional area confined by an actual line or implied line, and that's an edge. In design, shapes are created when the ends of the lines are joined to enclose an area. Shapes can be geometrical or free-form. So let's see an example of that. So all these over here are geometric shapes. If you're familiar with Photoshop, these shapes are also in Photoshop as well. Then you have more of your free-form shapes, which are more creative, a little bit more abstract than your geometric shapes too. So let's talk about texture. Texture can be actual or visual, and it is the surface quality of an object. It's the roughness or the smoothness of it. So in design, we can use texture in print. If we want to actually have a different type of texture pattern, you can see that as well. You can actually use texture in other print as well, as far as fabric as well. So this is the slide on texture, and let's go to color. Now, I'm really big on color. Color can convey a message. Color is not simply just always following, which you should, the branding guidelines for a company or making sure that the logos match, but color really does set the mood. It changes the emphasis or the meaning of the actual design itself. It can support a message, whether it's an advertisement, a website, a logo, or any persuasive text. And the meaning of color and the emotions convey vary based according to the culture. It could be the theme of the actual design that you're designing for. So it's very important that we understand our audience's perception of color as it pertains to our subject. And this is the handy dandy color wheel. So just to give you an example of color, the way that I normally try to remind myself when I'm using color in different designs to convey a message, especially for advertisements or advertisements, is this side, the right side is normally the warm size. The warm size is if you look at the red, the orange, the yellows, normally these colors over here, if you think about it, you see those on signs that maybe, express urgency. You can think about hospitals, emergency room signs, they're going to be in red. You can think about anything as far as an alert. Normally you'll see those in yellow. If you want to look at the McDonald's sign, it's in, red and yellow. That, sort of entices you to be hungry or hungry. Yeah, breaking news as well. So normally the right side, even though these are warm colors, it also expresses urgency. So if you look at the left side over here, you have your purples, your blues, your light blues. That's more calming. Blue is also a color that means trust too. So a lot of agencies, a lot of big businesses on their websites, they're going to use colors if they want you to trust them. Blue is a big color for trust. So when you're actually going and designing what I do, if I'm thinking about using the color outside of what I'm given for the logo or the branding guidelines, I Google it, or just to see, what that color means, to make sure that if I'm using this color for a particular audience, I'm not trying to make them nervous or scared when I'm really designing something that should be more trusting and calm. I'm not going to use something totally red to design something for a yoga studio, for example. So this is the color wheel. I do recommend that you get one, save it to your computer. Look at it constantly when you are choosing color, because color does make a difference in design. It's not just picking a color that matches all the time. Sometimes it's making sure that it conveys the message that you want it to convey. So value goes hand in hand with color, and it creates a mood or tone in the piece. And pretty much, like I said before, it's the lightness, the darkness, and the contrast of that image. That's what value means. So that's the 5 elements of design. Before we move on, I want to know if there are any questions or concerns about the values, well, the elements of design. And if not, we're going to mosey right along. So I went ahead and went over the discussion already with you guys. So make sure that you go over the link that's in the discussion as well. And make sure that you review the elements of design and talk about that in your discussion as well. So let's move on to the handy dandy assessment. So you do have an assessment for this week. Let's go there. And I'll go over it with you. And I'm going to briefly go over how to set that up quickly for you guys. So if you go to week 3, you have your discussion, assignment, and assessment. So let's click there. So your assessment is going to cover you creating and applying paragraph and character style sheets to manage type consistency and illustrate how to utilize the color palette within design. So part of our job as a graphic artist is to create multiple projects for a single client. It is vitally important that each of the projects for a specific product or client contains several elements that are alike. As designers, we are creating the face of a company for the world. That identity must be presented consistently, or the end user will be confused. Suppose, for example, someone has the business card from a store and they are searching for the store itself. If the logo on the card didn't match the logo on the building, it could be very tough to find. However, if the colors, the logo, and typography match for business cards to building and signage, we have created several visual vehicles throughout which our target audience can find us. And just to elaborate on that, it is very important that things match when you're creating pieces such as business cards, signage, postcards, which we'll go over in a minute, and brochures, because people remember a brand by how it looks. So if everything matches and everything lines up, whether it's the color or the font, they're going to easily identify with that brand or that company. Typography and color palettes are 2 of the key elements that give separate components within the campaign a cohesive feel. InDesign makes creating multiple campaign elements much faster by allowing us to import style sheets and color palettes from one project to another. Not only does this save an enormous amount of time, but it ensures the continuity we are seeking. Creating a color swatch palette and color groups within InDesign allow us to utilize the exact same colors from page to page and file to file with the click of a button. And this ensures the consistency required for a uniform design. So this assessment will give you the ability to reuse existing style sheets and color palettes as well that we previously used in the class. So for this assessment, we will be creating the following: a new InDesign document, and it's going to be 4.25 height, 6 width, 0.125 bleed, 0.25 margin. We're going to uncheck the spread. It's going to be 2 pages. We're going to import the paragraph and character style sheets you utilize in the menu design. If you had issues actually going over, I'm sorry, what was the question about the contrast in colors? Could you elaborate on that? And I'll wait and we'll go over the rest of this as well. You're going to import the paragraph and character style sheets you utilize for your menu design. You're going to import the style sheet, place one of the menu item photos there. You're going to use your character or paragraph styles, add a headline, buy one, get one half off. And then on page 2, you're going to insert the rest of the copy for the postcard. You're going to apply your paragraph and character style sheets, any other elements for your menu to help this to match to it. And you're going to add the logo to page 1 and 2 or both. And this postcard will not be mailed, so you can use all the space there on both sides of the card. And you, of course, you're going to name your files you have before in the rest of the assignments. Now, I've already downloaded the sample documents and the zip file as well. So let me get back to this question and then we can get into it. Okay, Shannon has it.
I'll just
yeah.
elaborate if you don't mind on my answer. So it was, you know, we're gonna use similar colors, you know, as you did last week. You want to make sure that you're not redefining your color palette, or you're not reinventing the wheel for this postcard, because you want to make sure that you can lay that postcard down next to your menu, and you can tell that the two go together. So you'll want to use similar colors as last week. And then when it comes to that contrast, you know, that's still one of our CRAP principles of design. So you just want to make sure that your original color palette did have some contrast in it, and everything else. So I just wanted to elaborate. I had typed it out in the chat, but I just wanted to elaborate for those of you who are watching at home.
Oh no, not warm versus cold. I was just giving that as an example of how I look at the color wheel, if that helps, Tapra. I wasn't trying to confuse you there, but it's just an example how I look at colors. When you actually go to the color wheel, which at the end of the class I'll put in the link for you. I will give you what it's called Adobe. It used to be called Adobe Couleur, but it's called Adobe Color. And there's different types of color schemes that you can use. Like there's a triage one, and it shows you the different meanings of each one. I'll be more than happy to share that with you at the end of the class in the chat. Just remind me near the end, and I'll put it in the link for you. And it shows the different ways you can mix the different colors in the color wheel. It doesn't always have to be warm versus cool colors. There's different ways that you can do it. Like there's one way where you can match like 3 colors on the color wheel that are like side by side or by each other that way. So yeah, I'll definitely share that link with you as well so you can get some better understanding of that. Okay, so I'm going to go over really quick because I think the assessment this week is pretty easy, just how to set it up. So before I open InDesign, I did go ahead, like I said, and install or downloaded the files as you see here at the bottom. So I'm going to go to the InDesign file, and bear with me because I updated my InDesign, so I had to reset everything up. All right, so for the assessment, I'm going to go to File, New Document. Shannon's going to fuss at me because I didn't change this to inches. But let's go here. So let's see what we have to do to set it up. So the width is 6 inches and the height is 4.25. So let's do that first. All right, and this is going to be landscape, I believe. This is going to be one page. We don't have any facing pages. Okay. And let's go here. This is going to be 2 pages, actually. All right, and give me one moment, guys. Sorry about that. That was a phone call from my son's daycare. So we're going to do 2 pages here. 0.25 margins, okay? Oh, it's not linked. There we go. Let's see what the bleeds are. 0.125 bleed. 5 bleed. Okay, so we have everything here. 4.25 height, 6-inch width, 0.125 bleed, 0.25 margins, unchecked spreads, and 2 pages. Let's just double check to make sure everything is okay. Awesome, so we're going to create, and let's see how that looks. Okay, so this is how everything looks here when you set up the actual page for your postcard. So let's see what the next step is here. Well, really what I'm going to do is really show you how to set up, I guess, the first page of it. The first page of the actual postcard should have the buy one, get one half off on the photo. And if you use the sample document, which if you do not have the style sheets from week 2 set or you're having trouble with that, you can download that and it will be there for you. I did that earlier just to make sure everything was here. So if I go to week 3 and I go to assessments, you'll see that the style sheet is here for you. Okay, so if you're having issues or had issues with your style sheet from week 2 and prior, you actually have that sample style sheet that you can actually use as well. So in order for you to actually use the style sheet, if you wanted to use it, you can go to, and my setup is a little different, but make sure you go up to paragraph styles. You're going to click on load paragraph styles, and you're just going to click on week 3 sample style sheet and click on open. You have to find it in your folder, of course. And I just click on check all just to make sure, and then you click OK. And you'll see all of the style sheets from week 3 are there for you. So you can do that as well, I believe. Yeah, and the swatches are here too. So again, if you did have trouble trying to create a style sheet for week 3, if you download the sample document that's here, you're actually able to load it by clicking on paragraph styles, load all paragraph styles, and navigate to that folder that you downloaded. Okay? So as I said before, I'm just going to show you how to set up the page itself. And again, we do have 2 pages to this. It's the front and back of a postcard. So I'm just going to go over quickly how to set up the front. First, we're going to do a background. One thing I like to do my layers. So for example, if this is a postcard, I would do postcard front. And let's move you down here, buddy. Postcard back. And I always name the files or the layers itself, so if I have to hand it over to somebody else, they know exactly where things are. So layers are your friend, so you can keep yourself organized the same way you keep your files organized for the class. So we're going to start with postcard front. I'm just going to do the front for you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and go all the way from bleed line to bleed line here, or margin to margin, and put in my rectangle box. Then I'm going to go to file, and then I'm going to place an image. Let's see. I'm going to choose a different image than what was downloaded, just so you can have just a different view of it. Okay, as you can see, the image is pretty big, right? So I can go here and go to fitting. Now I just right-clicked. I'm actually using a PC. Most people use a Mac. I'm like one of the only people that use a PC still in design. Everything I have is a Mac though. Crazy, right? So fitting, and then go to fill frame proportionally. And you have it here. Now in the instructions, the only reason I'm not doing this is because in the instructions, it tells you not to worry about actually following the lines and stuff for this week. I want to go back to that. Let's see. It says this postcard will not be mailed, so you may use all the available space on both sides of the card, okay? So I'm going to keep this right here for now. But if you do see this, it's not really proportioned. when I did click that. So I would actually go in and try to maneuver that so it is proportion. But for the sake of this assignment, I'm going to keep it as is for right now. But I have an image here. And the first thing I want to do is actually try to do, what is it, buy one, get one half off. Okay. So let's do, make sure I'm on the same layer, which is the front. Let's do a text box here. Ah. All right. So let's find a nice text. Let's try this one. I think I got this. No, this is a downloaded font. I don't think I got this one from Typekit. Not sure, but we're going to use that. Let's see how that looks. Let me make it bigger for you guys because you probably cannot see that. I know I can't. All right. And let's make this a different one. I'll use Rockwell, just for the sake of it. I'm going to center this. It's not much text. There's only like 2 lines. So I'm going to center it. And I was playing with this earlier. I want to actually have my text sort of match whatever it is that's here on the actual picture itself. So what I'm going to do is highlight the text, and I'm going to go here. And I don't know if you guys know about the eyedropper tool. It is wonderful. I'm going to hold down, click on the eyedropper tool. I'm going to hold it down with my mouse, and I'm going to see what this color looks like here. And I like it, but it's still sort of not blending in. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to add a rectangle, and I'm going to change the opacity on it, and I'm going to move it to the back. And maybe make the rectangle a brown color. I know it looks crazy, but bear with me for a moment. Move it to the back. Let's see if I change the opacity on it just a little bit. So I just changed it so you can see the text a little bit better. I didn't mean to click there. My bad, guys. So the other thing that the description says is something about the logo. You want to add the logo to page 1, 2, or both. I'm going to just add it here at the very bottom of this design here. So I'm going to do my box, make it small. And I'm going to use the Starlight Bistro logo. I would not normally use this for this design because the Starlight one has like the purple and pink, but just for the sake of actually placing the logo, I just wanted you guys to see this. So I'm going to choose Starlight logo. And again, right click on it, fitting, fit frame proportionally. And I'm just going to leave that there for now. So this is just an example of how you can set up the actual coupon or the actual postcard that's giving the person the coupon here for your first page. The second part will be where you actually go in and put your paragraph stylings here, as you did from week 2 as well. And that's something that is funny with InDesign. I don't know if you noticed that, Shannon, when you scroll up and you change the opacity or something, it goes back dark. Do not like that. But trust and believe, if you set it, it will still be there when you're done. But that's just an example of how to do play with text, play with the colors, and actually set up the actual notice for the buy one, get one half off. Because you want that text to be bold, you want it to be eye-catching as well. I had some examples here of coupons here too as well. So you can see Walmart has one, very simple. They stand with the colors, and you see the line that they use here. Now remember, we talked about line earlier as one of the elements of design and how it can imply something. So of course you see a dotted line, you're going to want to clip out the coupon, right? So that's just an example of how you can use, the text and the color to really engage with the user and actually promote them to do an action. Expire soon, you're going to want to click this coupon and use it immediately. And let's see here, same thing. I like Hobby Lobby. I go there all the time, bless my heart. So yeah, another coupon. I chose this one because I would not have used the color, I'll be honest with you. I think if I was designing this, I would have kept the Hobby Lobby orange, but I like the fact that they sort of used the 50% off on the side as well. So you know what the coupon is automatically, and then they emphasize it here as well too. Let me see if I have another one. Okay, so this is another one that I found as well, was a gift voucher. I love the color here. You know, it's a gift voucher. You have the value here, and you see how they use shape to define what the value is by using that circle as well. They also use a free form shaped here with the little chat bubble as well. So those are just some examples that you can use for inspiration when you're actually designing your postcard. I think the use of color here is great as well. So the $300 one has a different color. The $200 one, they use the same colors, the same everything. I think this is actually just a simple example, but I just thought it was very cool because if it was the same brand, you can tell the difference between the coupon, but you know it's the same brand by the color and the everything else that is set up here to be aesthetically aligned. Yes, so we do flu shot coupons here where I work. They're not the best coupons, you guys, but we do design those and we have to make sure we stay on brand. So I just wanted to bring attention to some examples that I saw that incorporated, you know, the color and the shape and line as well. So this is pretty much how you would set up, you know, this is a quick example of how to set up, I guess, a postcard here. What I'm going to do first, I think it says here that you have to save it. So I'm going to copy this. First, you're going to save the InDesign file, right? So file, save as, and I might have already had this saved. So I'm just going to go here and pretend we're doing it all over again. And I'm going to put Rozier. All right. Make sure that it's in the right folder. So week three assessment. Yes. Yes, I want to replace it. Okay, so we have this saved. And now I'm going to save the package. And I will tell you, for the sake of this, make sure that you have all of your what is it called, images and CMKY. This is in RBG. I'm going to save it, but make sure that you go through and you check that all of your links are in CMKY because this is a print file. This is not for the web, okay? Everything else seems to look okay. So we're going to go to package. And Shannon showed you earlier how you could go ahead and set the Adobe preset for your PDF file. So once you do it, you have it here. So I save mine as Marks and Bleeds. So I'm just going to go ahead and click OK or open. And let's see, let's put it back here, make sure it's in week 3 assessment. I don't want to open it. It's making me. Let's just put it in week 3. It's making me open it. Okay, that's fine. We'll figure it out when I go back and do it again. Yeah, I figured that's what it was. I was like, I should have deleted that. So let's see. All right, so that is the updated folder. You want to make sure that when you open up your PDF file that you have your marks and your bleed lines, okay? And again, I didn't do the second page. You guys will have to do that on your own. But again, it's simply following these same styles and the paragraph styles that you set up. But again, if you had trouble with that in week 2, in this assessment, you already have those paragraph styles again, where you can go in here, play with the text and use your body, your headers, your red headers and your purple headers, because this one I believe goes with Starlight Bistro, okay? So before I move on to the actual assignment, are there any questions? I'm going to show you how you submit it as well. Okay. So before you submit it, make sure you go over the rubric here. Make sure that everything is zipped, and let me go over how to zip it. You will need to go back to this main folder here. Let me see. I'm going to delete this one for the sake of this demonstration. Because I think, yeah, I'm going to delete it. Because this is going to make an extra folder. Oh, it's not letting me do it. So let's just say, for example, this is the folder here. And I'll just go ahead and zip this one as well. I'm going to right click on it. And again, I'm on a PC. And I am going to send to. And I am going to choose compressed zip file. And it's going to zip all my files. And I have it here. And then you go through your rubric again. Make sure that your page size, margin, bleeds are set up correctly. Image size proportionally, image frames are appropriately used. Typography utilizes style sheets from the menu. Frames are properly positioned on layouts. Text and images frames are properly used. Once you double check that all of that is done, you will simply go at the top, click on submit assignment, type in your little whatever you want to submit, and you'll submit it. Okay, yes, Mac is right click and select compress. Okay, thank you, Tabra. So if there are no other questions, we're going to get into your assignment. Your assignment for this week, you're going to be learning to implement correct uses of master pages, define and apply a grid system to a page layout, and utilize a baseline grid to align text and graphics in the layout. Sounds fun, right? Page layout software like InDesign incorporates tools to create master pages, baseline grids, and style sheets to help designers utilize grid systems, repeating elements and standard font sets quickly and easily. Learning how to properly use master pages, InDesign tools, to be able to quickly add and change elements to multiple pages with ease allows designers to create multi-page documents faster with consistent layout. Baseline grids are used to take a page with a lot of text columns and line them up top to bottom. Creating layouts based on a grid system will allow the designer to properly use elements to create their compositions. These types of finishing touches can take multi-page layouts from good to great. These may seem unnecessary or restrictive, but using these tools and sweating the details can make the difference between having a good portfolio and a great portfolio. And it can really help if you're passing on your designs to another designer as well. Over the next 2 weeks, you'll be creating a newsletter utilizing these great tools in conjunction with tools you have learned to use in weeks 1 and 2. Webster's Dictionary defines a newsletter as a printed report usually issued at regular intervals, giving the news about or information of interest to a particular group. Research has shown that the first newsletters came out around the 1530s, long before the larger, more complex cousin, the newspaper. And throughout the common decades, newsletters will evolve into newspapers and become larger, more comprehensive versions of themselves. Now, in the early 1900s, newsletters became popular once again. Businesses looked to them to be vehicles for specialized information. By 1930s, corporate newsletter were on the rise. From farming to fashion, there were a few areas that newsletters didn't individually cover, industry trends and happenings. And now we are really big on using letters as far as like MailChimp, Constant Contact, and HTML formats. So newsletters have really transitioned from the 1530s to now. By the mid-late 1980s, newsletters once again soared to popularity with the advent of desktop publishing. The once labor-intensive multi-page document became something quite accessible and utilized by businesses of all kinds. Today, print and digital media combined when it comes to newsletters. Online drag-and-drop systems have brought a once complex e-blast on the desktop of designers and business owners alike. So are print newsletters dead? No, of course not. And they're still a vital way to spread news today. And we're going to go over how to set this up. So this is going to be pretty detailed for this assignment. We're going to set up a 8.5 by 11 document that's going to have 0.5 margins on the top, left, and right. But on the bottom, it's going to have 0.75. We are going to have facing pages in 3 columns, and we're going to be using 0.25 colors between columns. You're going to have 4 pages. We're going to go over the master page construction a little bit and how to set up the baseline grid for you guys. And I'll go over how to set up the style sheets for the header, paragraph, and the subheading as well. The flag will be the logo title of the newsletter, and we're going to have a table of contents on the first page. There's going to be a feature article and the sidebar with the article as well. Page 2 and 3 will be addressed in week 4. So right now I'm just going to go over page 1 and how to set up the basics for this actual week 3 assignment, okay? So when you download the actual, yes, you do use master pages. So when you download the actual Student Matters newsletter assets, you're going to have the logo, you're going to have 7 Word files, 7 photographs, your style sheet specifications, your graduation ad in PDF, and the final newsletter layout in PDF, okay? So I've already downloaded the assets for the assignment, so let's go over those really quick. So again, you have your 7 Word files. Make note of them because they're going to be, some of them are going to be the different sections of the actual newsletter, and one of them is actually the style sheet. You have your mock-up, which we'll look at here. This is how your final should look. This is page 2, page 3, and page 4. But we are going to only focus today just on page 1, okay? And how to set up your style sheet and go over the basics of page 1 because that's what your assignment is for this week. You have your logo in Adobe Illustrator. You have the graduation ad, which we can look at really quick, but you won't be doing too much with it this week. All right, I'll leave that open. And again, you have your images that'll go here as well too for the different pages. So let's go ahead and start setting up this document. Make sure I save this. Close out of here. All right, so what does it say here? 8.5 by 11. Let's start there. File, new document. This is going to be a print document, okay? Yes, page 1 through 4. And again, we're going to change it to 8.5 by 11. Make sure that the orientation is portrait for a newsletter. Make sure it's not landscape, okay? You're going to have, says 4 pages here. You are going to have facing pages. It also says that you will have 3 columns. So we'll change this to 3. And the column gutter is 0.25, yes. Now, if you remember, the margins are not going to be the same for all of them. So you want to make sure that you uncheck the link so you can change them separately. The margins, top left and right are 0.5, bottom is 0.75. So I'm going to do the bottom first. And top left and right are already set to 0.5. Get my screen flipping together. Okay, so you don't have any bleed lines for this, so we're not going to bother with bleed lines. Let's make sure everything else is straight. Okay, 8.5 by 11 is in landscape. 4 pages, facing pages, columns are 3, gutter is 0.25, top right left 0.5, bottom is 0.75, okay? So let's create the document. Let's see how it looks. Ta-da! Okay, so this is how it looks. I want to show you how it looks when you do have the 4 pages and how it is laid out. This tab right here shows your pages as well too and how they're laid out. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And remember, we discussed the master page. You can click here to access the master page under a master. If you click on them separately, it clicks on the separate page. But if you click on the word a master, I'm not sure about Mac, but I know on PC it does click, and I'm pretty sure Mac does as well, click all of them for you. Yes, okay, good. All right, but we'll go over that in just a minute. So we set up our document. You have your 3 columns here. The next step that you're going to do, let's start with the baseline grid. So where do we find that information in our assignment? Remember, it did give you a style sheet setting, so make sure you go through that first. So let's go over that. You have your preset baseline grid to 15 points starting at 0 relative to top margin. And then it goes over your style sheet specifications, the size and type of lead for your body copy style, the bullets, drop cap, and subheads, and your headers as well. So we'll start with baseline grid first. You see, give me one moment to move some of my Zoom things out of the way. Okay, so in order for you to access, I had to figure this out again because again, InDesign changed. So if you're using InDesign 2019, PC is under Edit Preferences, and you're going to go to Grids. So I'll leave this here for a minute. Edit Preferences, and you're going to go to Grids. I believe you can go to Guides and Pasteboards too, but I think it's best for you to start at Grids. Okay. So I have the grids here, and you can go over the different settings here. So because if you did click on, I think, Guides and Pasteboards, which I did at first because of the new layout, you can always go back and go to Grids. And if you also go to Edit Preferences General, it'll give you this screen too. But if you simply go to Edit Preferences Grids, it'll get you right to the screen where you need to go. So the Word document states that we have to do the baseline grid to 15 points starting at 0. So since we're starting at 0, we're going to change this to 0. We're going to increment every 15 points. So where it says baseline grid to 15 points, that is where you change it. You change it in the increment, okay? Start 0 relative to top margin. So not top of page where it has here, relative to top margin. I'm going to leave the threshold. I think it'll be okay. You can click on grids and back if you want to, or you can turn it off. That's totally up to you. I'm choosing to turn it off for right now, and we're going to click OK and see how that looks. And let me go back one momento. Make sure it's right. Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure. So here we are, and you see right here, you have your baseline grid. I set mine to pink earlier, Let me see. If I can remember how I set it to pink, I will show you. Because you're going to want to change, is it here? You're going to want to change it to where you can actually see your baseline grid. I'm going to see if I change the color, would it change the color itself? I know I did it earlier. I just don't remember where I did it. It's not here. Okay. So view and then turn on baseline grid. I knew I changed it earlier. So again, you're going to go to view, you're going to go to grid, and you're going to go to show baseline grid. And it should show it here, but I already changed the color here for the baseline grid to pink. So you see it there. Yeah, it keeps defaulting. This new InDesign and I are having, it's a love-hate relationship that we're having right now. So, so this is your baseline grid that you do have for your assignment. So again, just to go over that really quick so you guys don't forget, preferences, edit, preferences, grids, and you go here to grids and you set it up here, okay? All right, so let's see what else is asking for in this document. Oh, that's the wrong one. Yes, okay, so I kept my thresholds to 75, so let's try that suggestion to change it to 65. And you can, this is what Shannon means by changing your threshold. You can leave it where it is, but if you want to play with it to see it, and of course.
I didn't mean to type a million things to you.
Every
single time, every time that they do an update in InDesign, they change how something works, and I find like things that used to just all of a sudden work like no longer work anymore. So it's not you.
Okay, I don't want this here, so let me see if I can change this out. I'm gonna change this back to 75, Shannon. I don't want to see that part. Okay. So that, but you did see when I changed it there, you see sort of your baseline grids, and you also see the actual margins that's here as well. So if you want to view it, you can do that. I'm going to leave it all for the sake of the class. I will go on to the next step. Let's see what it says. Okay, style sheet specifications, the size and type of the lead. So let's do the body style. So one thing I did notice here too, because I did an update, some of the text here, which I'll get to in a moment, like mine says Helvetica, I don't have that anymore, and I used to have it. So when we get here, you can use either one of these for your fun. I think I end up using Arial for mine because I didn't have Helvetica on my screen or on my computer anymore once I did the update. So I'll get to that in a moment. Some of the fonts are named differently, so try to match them up as close as you can. Yeah, you can use Arial Bold as well. So let's go to paragraph styles. And we're going to create a new paragraph style here. Going to double click on it. We're going to go back to our Word file. And we're going to do the body style. So that's what I'm going to call it. It says here body is going to be 1215 point times Roman or times New Romans. All lines align with the baseline grid, and you're going to align it left. Okay, so first we're going to name it body style. If you want to go to basic character format, that's where you go to actually change the character. It said Times New Roman, so. All right, it wasn't bold or anything. I think it was just regular, right. Size 12, lead is 15. Okay, align left. And it says, I went to indents and spacing to check the alignment. And it says align to, and it should say baseline grid here. One moment. I probably have to go back and turn it on. All lines, okay, gotcha. I don't like these changes, Shannon. Okay, so let me go here. I don't like them. So again, let's go back to basic character format. Make sure that it's times, regular 12 point there, indents and spaces, all lines. Make sure that my times and Roman saved and style name is body style. We're going to click OK. All right, so we have body style. Let's go to the next one. Bullets. So we have a bullet and it's going to take on the properties of the body style that we just set. And it's going to be left indent 2.5 and first line indent, not 2.5, 0.25 for both. So let me go over that for you. So we're going to set a new paragraph style. I'm doing all of this under paragraph. We're going to call it bullets. And you see where it says based on here, it's body style. So anytime that you see this in your actual style sheet, where it says bullets, body copy, that's what you set your base on to. So I'm just going to keep that in body style. And since it's a bullet, I'm going to go down to bullets and numbering to put in everything that it asks. And it says list type here, make sure that you choose bullet. And it'll automatically have the bullet selected here. And it's left indent 0.25 and then first line indent 0.25. And first line indent is 0.25. This, I think it should be 0.25 too, but I'm not sure. Negative 0.25. Let me go back and clarify that. Yes, make sure you look at the dash, people. It helps to have glasses. So we're going to do negative 0.25 here. This was set to 0.5. I think that's what it was before. I'm going to leave it at that. So just to go over that again, I went to style name bullets, general based on body style, because in this word file it says body copy. I went to bullets and numbering and align left. I selected bullets here, 0.25, and then negative 0.25 here as well. Okay, yeah, it went blank anyway too, even after I typed that in. So I'm going to click OK. Now you have your style for your bullets, okay? Drop cap. Ooh, so drop cap is how they put the big letter in the beginning of the newsletter article. So drop cap is going to have a body copy plus drop cap 2 lines down, 1 character over. So let's go over how to set that up. So I'll create a new paragraph style. I'm going to call it drop cap. And remember, if it says body copy, it means that it's based on here. So make sure that it changes to body style. Sometimes based on will automatically default to the last one that you use. So make sure that you constantly that you change it to body style here. Otherwise, it will go to the last one. So we have a tab here that says drop caps and nested styles. So let's see what it said here. Drop caps, 2 lines down, 1 character over. So lines, 2 lines down, 1 character over. I'm going to leave everything else the same, and I'm going to click OK. So now we have our drop style. Now, subheadings, it says that you're going to use the baseline, the body cap baseline again, and you're going to change the subheadings to 14-point bold and red. So first, I'm going to pull up, I think I still have it open, but just for the sake of this, I'm going to pull up the logo. Because You want to make sure that the colors match. Yeah, I still had it open here. Just going to try to open it again. That's okay. It might not. All right. So here is how I get the color from the logo. There are various ways to do it. If I'm going to be using this red for this particular style set, I'll double click here and click on the fill here. You can copy the RBG, the CMKY. What I simply do, I simply just copy the hexadecimal file. I copy it, click OK. I go back to InDesign and I go to my swatches and I create a new one. Actually, no, let me do it this way. I'm going to go here to my color picker before I click on create new. And I'm going to paste that color here. And then I'm going to click on add CMKY swatch. And you see it added it here. Click on OK. And I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to uncheck this so I can name it because this automatically names it with the color value. And I'm just going to call it newsletter. Oh, I cannot spell today. Red. So I know what it's for. And it's saved. I want to go also back to the logo file. And if you double click here and you notice like some of the elements of the actual logo are mixing, you can go to this arrow and it'll take you back to where you were. It just sort of breaks down where you are when you double click on the actual logo in the AI file. So I'm going to double click on the blue, do the same thing. Click on that fill or the color square here, get the hex number. I'm going to copy it, go back out of here. I'm going to go back to InDesign again. I'm going to click on the fill here. I'm going to paste that number here. I'm going to click on add CMKY swatch. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to double click here, uncheck name with color value, and subheader blue, just rename it. So when I actually go back into put in the text where it needs to go, it's in the right, it's the right color, and I automatically have it as well. And you can move these around too. So if you want to move it up, move. You can move it up as well too. It doesn't have to stay where the other colors are. So now that I have the colors set for that, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my paragraph styles and do the subheading style. Subheadings are body copy, change to 14 point, bold, and red. So let's go back here, do a new one. Subhead. And remember, like I said before, make sure that you change just the body style because your based on will automatically, for some reason, default to the last style that you created. So if you're changing it to body copy, make sure you go to based on and body style, basic character format. It has to be, I think, 14 point bold, right? Yes. So 14 point. And you change the font style here to bold. All right, and you go down here to where it says character color. And we're going to choose red. All right, so you have your 4 paragraph styles, your body style, your bullets, your drop cap, and your subhead. Are there any questions before I move on to the actual headers? Okay, awesome, awesome. All right, so I'm going to do the headers under character styles, okay? So let's start with the first one. Same way, you're going to click on character style 1, make a new one. And it says here, again, if you don't have the first font, go to one of the other ones. You can choose either one from here. I'm going to choose Arial And notice it says here, do not snap to baseline grid, okay? So our headers are created using either Helvetica, however you pronounce that, bless my soul, Myriad Pro Bold or Area Bold, align left, okay? Let's go here. Oh, wait a minute. So the first, and there's 3 headers, 1, 2, and 3. These are actually 3 different ones, just so you know. So we'll do the first one here. So the first one's going to be 32, 34 point, and it's going to be blue. So we'll name this header 1. And again, I'm going to use Arial. And I'm going to make it bold. I'm going to do 32, 34. And it's going to color. It's blue. And it says you have to align left. Give me one moment. Yikes, okay. That is the issue. Yesterday when I did this, I put it in character style. So let's put it back here then. That's probably why. So let's go to paragraph styles again. Let's do header 1. Same way again. Go to basic character styles format. We're going to go to Arial, bold. I think it was 32, 34. Yeah, 32, 34. And we are going to make the color blue. Indents, alignment left. Okay, so we have that here. So to correct that earlier, make sure you're in paragraph instead of character styles for this one. So that's header 1. We're going to create header 2 as well. Header 2 is 2425 blue, still line left. Character color is blue. Indents and spacing, align left. Okay. It's not based on anything. Let me see. All right. And we're going to do header 3, okay? Header 3 is 1819, and this one's red. Basic font. And all of them are bold. Make sure this is red. Make sure it's aligned left. It's not based on that. And we're going to click OK. So now you have your body style, your bullets, your drop cap, your subheader, header 1, header 2, and header 3. Once those are set up, you are done setting up your style sheets for your week 3 assignment. Let's see what the next steps are here. So we're going to go over master page construction. And we're going to go over the auto page numbering, the date of the publication. We went over the baseline grid, and we'll show you how to do some of the styling for the headers, the first paragraph, subheads, and body copy. So earlier I showed you guys how you can access the master page here. Let me zoom out a little bit. Simply by going to your Pages tab, and if you don't have it, I think you can go to Windows and Pages, and it will come up for you too. But if you go to your Pages tab here, you see you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, if you want to click on the master, let me click on something else so I can click off of it and show you. You simply click on where it says a master. And this is important because when you actually select on the master document, everything that you do in the master document, it applies it to every page on your InDesign layout, okay? So let me do an example here. First, let me create some layers here. Let me think. And I'll go back and go over that again. All right, so we're just going to name it that for a minute. So I'm going to put something here. I don't think it matters the layer for this because whatever layer it is, if you have the master select, it's going to be applied to all. So I'm just going to go here and let's just do a circle. And I'm going to move the circle, let's put 2, just so you can see it. So you can sort of see here that all the pages have these 2 circles. And if you scroll down or up, jinkies, let me get out of the master so you can see the rest of it. If I go to page 1 or page 4, you'll see the circle. Page 2 and 3, you'll see it. And the first page there, you'll see it too. So when whatever you do on the master itself is always going to show on all of the pages. So if you don't want it to show on the master, make sure that you don't have master selected when you're actually designing your newsletter. I'm going to Control Z out of that. One moment. So yeah, so this is how I just pretty much go over what's going to be on that master. Now, I'm going to pull up the example because one thing that I think that's on the example, let me go back here, that's on all of the pages is this part where it says Student Matters Month Year 1, Student Matters Month Year, page 3. I think I skipped over page 2 being too fast. This one's a little different. So that is the thing that is the same for each page itself. So that is an example of something that you're going to want to put on the master. And it is actually a requirement when it says folio, auto page number and date and name of publication. So how do we design this? Well, you do have, I'm going to go here to the first page, your sample, right? So I'm going to go to layers. I thought I named this. I'm going to call it sample newsletter. Okay, so I'm going to actually place the newsletter here so you can see it on the document itself. So this is the mock-up. All right, I'm going to move it around to where it lines up with margins and bleeds and everything else here too. Make sure. This news thing should be down a little bit more. This needs to be a little bit over. All right, so the way I'm judging this is I'm basing it off of this logo here, so you guys will know. Let me move it down a little bit so you can see that line there. I'm trying to make sure that it lines up with the pink line. So once that lines up with the pink line, then I know everything is in place. So what I would do if I want to actually sort of kind of design on this and use this as like a template, so to speak, I am going to change this opacity a little bit so it's not too much in my way when I'm typing or designing over it. Let me make it a little bit brighter. I'll do 36. Once I do that, I recommend that you go in and lock the layer, and you double click on the actual layer and just lock it. So I'm just going to do that right now, and you can unlock it later once you choose to do that. But I'm going to call this layer the sample newsletter, because for your first part of this assignment for this week, this is what you're going to be creating, okay? All right. So the part that we are going to create that needs to go on all of the master pages is the end part right here where it says student matters, month, year, and one. So to make sure that what I'm designing, again, is going to go on all of the pages, I need to make sure that I click on master, okay? Because when I click on master, whatever I put here, even though it's on this first page, it's going to go on any of them. And one thing to note about master, even if you're on this page right here, if you click on master and you're doing it on the first page, it's still going to go on each one. It doesn't matter what page you're on the document. If master is clicked, it's going to go on all of the pages, whether it's page 1 that you're designing on or page 4, okay? So this line is already blue, and I already have blue selected, yay me. So I'm going to go to the line tool and try to draw this line. Let me go to my newsletter components. Draw this line. I'm going to click shift and try to draw it as straight as possible. I'm using a laptop mouse, so when I click shift, it should do it correctly. And it's very small, so let me try that again. And I'm going to change let's change it to 2 points for this line so I can see it a little bit better. All right, so I have it a little bit better. It's not quite where I want it to be, so I'm just going to play with it a little bit and move it down. See if I can maneuver it a little bit as well. So you want to get it as close as possible and sort of line it up there. So that's my blue line. And you can play with the points on it if you want to make it a little bit bigger to sort of match what you have going on here as well. So I'm going to leave that line there. And now I'm going to go here and type in Student Matters. Student Matters has a capital S, a capital M, and it doesn't have a space in between it. Just want to note that. Okay. I can't see my type, so let's see what's going on here. It's too big. All right, so here it goes right here. Apparently it's too big. The first thing I want to do is change this to blue. The next thing I want to do is we have our paragraphs style saved. Let me change this to maybe body style to see if that's it. And looks like it's bold. And it changed this Let's change that back to red. Newsletter, red. Okay, so I'm going to move this back up. You don't have to move these boxes, but I do, because sometimes if I'm trying to move another element and I click on another thing and it's within that box, it's going to bother me. So we have that. Trying to see maybe if I need to change the font a little bit. Let me see. I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to leave it here for a minute. It should be Arial. Okay, so this might be a subheader there. It's my arrow over here. Okay, so let's change it here. And you have to play with it just to see. Header 1. Actually, let me just change it here. Just override it. Was it header 1 or subheader? I did not ask you to do that. So let's go here. Okay, so that might be it. I know it was Arial, but I'm going to change the font back to, let's say 12. Let's change it to 10. All right, so I changed it to 11. I'm going to change the swatch back. I think this was red. So we'll change it back to red. Yeah, that's why I was trying to match it up too. So
I just wanted to let everyone, a lot of people are going to find that they don't have Helvetica on their machine, and that's okay. So if you do it in the Arial, you'll notice it's pretty close. It's just a little bit off, and that's completely fine. So don't worry about it.
okay, so now we're going to create this right here where it says month and year. The month is this, oh, I was going to say December. It is still November, guys. It's November, and then the year is 2018. I believe this was in black, so I'm going to change it to black. All right. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to align this right. Okay, so let's look at it, see where we are. All right. That's not what I told you to do. That's not the color I chose. All right, so we're going to go back. I think I chose 10 for this. Yeah. I'm going to change this font color to black. I'm going to move it over here a little bit. Resize my box just a little bit too, so it's not overlapping the bottom. Now you need to put a bullet point here. Anybody want to help me with the shortcut for the bullet point on a PC? That's, yeah, that's too long, but we're going to try it. It is right. It's Alt. I thought it would be something easier because I know on the Mac is different.
On a Mac, it's Option 8, and I just want to let you know that I remember that from working at a newspaper in 1998.
Yes, so yeah, PC numbers are crazy when it comes to special numbers. So make sure you note that in the chat if you are on a PC, because I never remember it. So now you are going to have to go and put the number for the actual page itself. Now you're not going to enter in the number itself. What you're going to do is go to type, and you're going to insert special character, and you're going to go to markers, and you're going to go to current page number, and you're going to select that. So again, type, insert special character, markers, and current page number. And you'll click there, and you'll have to move it a little bit so you can see it. And it automatically puts the page number there, okay? So let's zoom out a little bit. You have your student matters, and like I said, my font is a little different, so it doesn't match up totally, but you have the actual basic components for what you needed to create your folio, your auto page, numbering, date, and name of publication. Those basic aspects are there. Let me make sure if I click off of here that number 1 is there too. And what I want to show you is that once you actually create it, did I save it on the master? Uh-oh. I didn't save it on the master. So it didn't show on the other pages. So one moment. So I'm going to copy it. You go back to pages. This is what happens when you don't save it on the master, guys. Let me see if I can paste it here. Okay, so it has the A there because it shows there. But if you go to, make sure I got it on the master. Let's see if I can go to 2. Let's go to 4, scroll down. It's on 2. It's not there. It is changing the number. It's on 3. This is on 1. Gotcha. Okay. So it's selected here. So this is page 2 that Shannon is talking about referencing. So I'm going to do this as well. All right, so it should be there as well. So let's go now. So now we have it here. So what Shannon was referencing to, you do have to select the A master, but you have to put it on page 2 as well. It's on page 4, as you can see here, and it's number page 4. You have page 2, you have page 3, and then you have page 1, which you're going to be working on, and it has it there. So again, just to go over it, page 2 of the, make sure you select the master and that you put it on page 2 of the master. Make sure that it shows there, and then it will also go ahead and put it on page 3, 4, and 1 of the master. When you put it there, it's going to show A, that's just a placeholder, I believe that's what they do. And then however many pages that you actually have for the document itself, it'll go through and number it. So again, click on a master, operate on page 2 of the master, and it'll actually show it there as well. Okay, we already set the baseline grid. So style sheet for headers, first paragraph, drop cap, subheading, and body cap. So again, for week 3, you're just going to work on the first page. So again, I already have this sort of as the background.
Well, actually, they have to do page 4 also.
They have to do page 4. Do we have time for page 4?
If not, I can share an old video. So
Okay.
don't even worry about it. Yep, I'll share an old video of it that shows it.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to go over just how to set up, the basics for page 1 as well. So you have your background here that I sort of changed the opacity on so you can see what your guidelines are for what you need to actually create. So the first thing you're going to actually do is I would place the logo here. It's the easiest thing. So we're going to do rectangle. So trace it over here. Let me make sure I don't have the master selected. No, I don't. Make sure I have the right selector, layers newsletter component. I'm going to place the logo. So go to File, Place, Student Matters, Header, and it placed it perfectly there over the actual newsletter. Now you can look at the different components that you have on the page. You have the table of contents. You sort of have this sidebar here about cyber-aware tips, and then you have the main article here on page 1. I would do I think the easiest part first was sort of create this little third column, because as you can see, these take over 2 columns, this first article, but this third column right here is sort of separated on its own. It has a sort of gray background, so I would create a rectangle to trace over it. See if I can change the color here. Okay, all right, thanks, Shannon. So I will get out of here so I can come back up for you guys. I'm going to actually create this rectangle. So scroll down here. Make sure it matches up. The rectangle, I believe, has a border. I'll make that border newsletter red. I'm going to change the color of the actual, let's see if I can find a gray. Let me type in a gray hex code and just go from there. So I'm going to type in silver. I'm going to do C-O-C-O-C-O. And that's sort of close enough. I'm going to click OK here. So let me go back to this layer and make sure that everything is there. It's a solid border. I'll make it 3. Actually, it looks like it might be 1. Okay, so I created a border here. And like I said, you just have to sort of play with it to make sure that it does match. And the way I did that was just use the rectangle tool. And I just pretty much copied it over the standard layer or the actual mockup itself. I changed the border here to match the color of the newsletter subheader red. This looked like a gray to me, so I just simply played around with the colors here. I actually have some of the hex colors, so I changed it to like a closest to that gray color itself. And if you want to sort of kind of check it, I guess, just to see how it looks, you can always just go here to see, just hide that layer to see if it looks okay to you. I think I'm gonna change this back to 2. And I'll keep it there. And you can zoom in as well too if you need to see maybe if you want to extend it a little further on one side versus the other. Keep it right there. So just try to match it as close as you can. So that's how I created the actual sidebar there. I'm going to create the actual cyber aware tip font or the title. I'm going to create it out here. All right, so I'm going to go to my paragraphs. I'm going to call this header 1 because it looks like it could be a header 1, and it is. That font for the header 1 looks a little bit too big, so maybe I'll do a header 2. It looks like it's centered, and it is. And I'm going to put this over my cyber aware tip. And again, I'm using a different font than what they're using here, so it does not look exactly the same. But if just keep that in mind when you're actually doing it, that it's not going to be the exact same font if you're not using Helvetica. I'm using Arial again. Okay, Shannon, are you saying that's time? I'm sorry. Oh, Jinkies. Okay.
Yep, no worries, no worries. Yeah, so we've kind of reached the end, which is fine because I have some extra videos, so don't worry, everyone, that I had done in the past that show a full demo. So between the two of them, you'll see a full demo of the assignment. But I just wanted to let you know. I know sometimes when we're working in InDesign, we're like, and then like just keep going, just keep plowing through it. So I just wanted to let you know that you can wrap it up, but I will share that other video for everyone, so don't worry about that.
Okay, not a problem. So guys, I'm just going to wrap it up here. But as you can see, we just went over basically how to set up the document and the most important parts of getting your baseline grids done and getting your paragraph styles in here as well. We also went over how to set up the folio part where you actually put out the title of the article, the date, and the page number as well. We discussed the master pages. Again, you double click here to make sure you're on the master page and you design here. I believe those are the major things that we actually discussed today. Does anybody have any questions for me before I end? And again, I will be available tomorrow during the multi-session if you have any questions or you run into any problems. Oh, you're welcome, Michelle. Okay, I will definitely be there. And the multi-session will be at the same time. I pushed it back today, but the multi-session is what it's normally at, is it 12 or 10? 10 a.m., yes. So that's 12 for me. So I will definitely be there if you have any questions or, needing additional assistance. Yes.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much. Great session today. And I will end our recording. And again, if anybody has any questions, any concerns, you can always email us. If you send the message through Canvas to all instructors, it will go to both of us. If you just email just me, it'll just come to me. So, just wanted to let you know how it works when there's two instructors in a course. But all right, thank you so much today, and I hope everybody has a great day.